Hey guys, and welcome back to Divine Journey 2. So last episode we fixed some more passive processes, and we added things like Vapor of Levity and Dew of the Void, as well as some more of the things required for the tier 4 essences and reagents. We did leave last episode short on a few materials, but now that we paused some of the passive processes, those materials seem to be building up. The main one was dark steel, and our gold is slowly climbing, although there is some solution that we could look into for that today. So the plan for today is to finally be able to automate this blood altar. We're going to be setting up a few rituals to automate LP generation, and hopefully also be able to automate this Hellfire Forge Tartaric Gem. So between episodes, I finished hooking up the automation for the slate production here. This design is also thanks to Taz, so thank you very much for helping me set this up. This setup is not something that will stay long term, but right now it helps to automate some of this slate production. So the way it works is it will check if the blood altar is full. We're still at 32,000 capacity right now, which is enough to craft up to the demonic slates. However, there are 4 more slates above this, which we can't quite craft yet, but we don't need them at the moment. Once the blood altar is full, it will pull a piece of abyssal stone from this interface, and it will keep crafting until it can fill an available slot in this drawer. So this way it will try to fill up the blank slates first, then the reinforced, then the imbued, then the demonic, and so on. This sort of a setup doesn't support the blood orb, but this is part of the reason why we're going to build multiple of these blood altars eventually. So yeah, between episodes I've farmed up a bunch of ritual stones. This isn't enough for the well generation yet, we'll have to build some more for that. With this 48 we can at least set up LP generation. And to do that we're going to use the Well of Suffering. So to start setting this up, we can either place this above or below our altar, but since we have the incense down here, I think we're just going to stick it above here. We need to select our ritual diviner, and we want to have it on the Well of Suffering. So I believe this Well of Suffering has a 6 block range, so we're going to go up 5 blocks from our blood altar. On the 5th one we'll place the Master Ritual Stone, and now when we hover over this with the Ritual Diviner we can see an outline of the Ritual Stones. We can just hold right click and we'll build our ritual out. Cool, so this is going to be our Well of Suffering. Now we need some mobs to suffer. So there's a few different mobs we could use for this. We could use witches, which will throw potions at themselves, which is enough to sustain the damage that they take from the Well of Suffering. Basically, the Well of Suffering will damage mobs, and every tick of damage will generate some life essence and fill up our blood altar there. But instead of using witches, I'm going to use zombies, and we're going to use graveyard soil to keep them alive, which heals undead. So this soil we're going to place on the 4 corners here, and we'll place some glass around it just so that we can see them. Alright, so now we have to find some zombies. But rather than going out and finding a bunch of zombies, we're going to take this first one as the first volunteer. And we're going to make a powered spawner for these guys. And then we can capture a bunch of zombies here with the capture feature of this powered spawner. And then place them on the graveyard soil. Oh, this guy even has armor on. Just to make sure they don't despawn, we're also going to give them a name. And the most appropriate name here is Breeks. If you guys have seen FTV interactions, you know what this is about. Oh, looks like he's already gone. Hello, Breeks. Alright, we've got 5 or 6 zombies to start off with. Let's just make sure this works before we go crazy with these guys. Alright, so to activate and start the ritual, we need the activation crystal. And to craft this thing, we need to make various types of clusters, which we make in our crystallization from Abyssocraft. And this unlocks the activation crystal quest. So to make this, we need 100,000 LP, tier 4 blood altar, and a lava crystal. So the lava crystal we can make with some of these clusters, a rune of fire, and a blood orb. So now we have to put this through the blood altar, but as you can see we still only have a 32,000 capacity on this thing. So we need more capacity runes. But that shouldn't be too difficult now that we have slates automated, or at least half automated. So let's add 5 more runes of capacity. This only takes us to 42,000, which is still way off the mark. So to boost this further, we can actually use augmented runes of capacity. These runes of augmented capacity are certainly not cheap, requiring the base rune of capacity, and also 2 demonic slates, which is the tier 4 slates, and a demonically gargantuan drum. And this thing is, yeah, not cheap either, but these will significantly boost the internal buffer of our blood altar. So I'm going to try to get enough slates to get a couple of these things at least. Alright, so after about 15 minutes of farming slates, we finally have our augmented capacity runes. These things increase the blood altar's capacity multiplicatively. That's a hard word to say. But the more of them you have, the more efficient they are. Oh, this only takes us up to 46,000. Yeah, we're going to need a lot more than this. Alright, well, back to farming slates. Also, to craft these augmented runes of capacity, we need gold ingots. And gold isn't something that's very abundant right now. So to try to fix the problem a little bit, we're going to smelt some of these gold pickaxes that we're getting from some of these divine RPG mobs. I've just hooked up this advanced smelting factory which smelts down the gold picks. This only gives us gold nuggets, but it's better than nothing, right? We'll give this machine some upgrades as well. We are also going to add efficiency 5 onto this enchanted book in the quantum quarry. This should mine ores significantly faster like this, and in fact I don't know if we'll have the power throughput to support this. We may have to change some things around. But in any case, that should drastically increase the rate of ores we're getting here. And I've turned some more of the passive processes off, like this alloy smelter for energetic alloy, and also the fluxed electrum. I think I swapped this drawer out during the stream, and I didn't limit this, so this has 5,000 electrum in it, and that is so much gold. So that's probably where most of the gold is. Alright, so I've been farming a bunch of slates here, and we're up to 8 slates of augmented capacity. This takes our altar to 53,000. Again, we need 100,000 for the lava crystal, but I want to try something out here. So after we use the sacrificial dagger, we get soul free, which prevents us from sacrificing again until the debuff wears off. However, we can drink milk to get rid of the debuff. And we're going to try to use regen 3 to increase our life regen. And just to help with this attempt, I've also taken away the speed runes, which should slow down the craft a bit and maybe allow us to get enough blood in the altar. So let's first of all fill this to capacity and wait for the regen. So we're going to drink the regen, hit the lava crystal, and let's try to be as efficient as possible with this thing. So I know that we get about 14,000 per sacrifice, so I'm going to wait a little bit till we're about 40-ish, maybe now. Yeah, that filled it back up. Because our regen's really high, we can sacrifice again. I mean, we seem to be keeping up with this thing. It's still at 40,000, and I've taken a few swigs of milk here. We must be close now, we must be close. Any second now this is going to turn. Oh, we made it, we made it. We got the activation crystal. Nice. I honestly did not expect that to work, but now that we have this, we can activate our ritual. I think we just have to right click with this thing. Is it working? Oh yeah, the zombies are being damaged. I don't know if they're healing up though. Let's check their health bar. Oh yeah, they seem to be staying full HP, which is exactly what we're after. So our blood altar should be filling with life essence. Yeah, nice. Alright. So we're now running 7 runes of sacrifice, which actually takes us up to a bit of an equilibrium with this blood altar. At least with nothing crafting here, we can actually sustain the amount of blood that we have in the altar with the setup that we currently have. So this is actually a really good start for us. And if we take out the blood altar, this is going to start filling with abyssal stone and crafting us slates until the drawers are full. So yeah, this is something we'll keep upgrading, but yeah, dark steel. And we're going to need a lot of dark steel for the next steps anyway. So yeah, the next thing we're going to look at is the Hellfire Forge automations. More specifically, Demon Will Crystal automation. So that is what this setup here is for. We're about halfway done with this. It's not quite finished yet, but I'll explain where we're at the moment. So we crafted up 5 demon crucibles, 1 for each of the will types, and we have 1 demon crystallizer here, which was part of the quest. So the way this works is we're using a powered spawner that spawns chickens, and passive mobs will actually give you more will in the chunk. I took this from down at our mob farm, and we have all the loot collected by the vacuum chest, and this just goes into the ender chest, which is connected to the drawer network at the mob farm. And then currently we have 2 rituals set up. So the first ritual at the bottom here will damage all of the chickens, and every tick of damage, similar to the Well of Suffering, will generate some will in the chunk. And when you're building this, just make sure you keep it within 1 chunk. So the second ritual we're using, just below this demon crystallizer, is the Resonance of the Faceted Crystal. This is only a temporary setup, just to get the first of the crystals that we need. So what this ritual will do is take will from the chunk, and this is why we have the first Tartaric Gem in here. And this will basically grow into the regular will crystal, which is on top of the crystallizer here. And then over time that will split into the different versions. So these versions are the corrosive, the destructive, the vengeful, and the steadfast. So to progress from here, we're going to have to upgrade our Tartaric Gem. And the reason for that is because we need to craft these demon will crystal clusters, and this requires a minimum of 1200 will in the Tartaric Gem. The highest tier we currently have is the common one, which only holds I think 512. So to upgrade it, we need some of this demon will crystal, a large bloodstone tile, and a potency core. So we can get the crystal from this crystallizer actually. We should be able to just harvest this. And this gives us 7 demon will crystals. One of these crystals we're going to upgrade the Tartaric Gem with. Oh, and it looks like we also haven't quite unlocked the quest for this. We may be jumping the gun a bit here. I think we may need this activation crystal. To do that, we need the Scepter of Thunder, which is crafted with one of the tier 2 runes. So we can just encode a recipe for this. And we'll also get recipes for the Rune of Winter, the Rune of Summer, and the Rune of Spring. And hopefully we can request one of each of these things. And yeah, right now these runes still take a while with the setup we currently have, but we should be able to fix that within the next couple of episodes at least. I also forgot to include the Living Rock into the recipe here. Let's make sure we add that on the last slot. This is what we need to complete the craft once it fills itself with mana. So this should be the last of the tier 2 runes that it's crafting. We have Rune of Autumn, Rune of Winter, Rune of Spring, and Rune of Summer. And the Rune of Autumn we're going to use for the Scepter of Thunder. Oh, we're missing Tempestas and a Power Core. Okay. 2 Tempestas, which we can request, and a Power Core. It's nice to have all this automated. I can't imagine doing all this by hand at this stage. The crafting of these things is still quite slow, so I think actually maybe today we'll look at expanding out our crafting speed of blood magic. But there is our Scepter of Thunder, and I think our quest. So at this point, to create the next activation crystal, we need a weather container. And to get this weather container, we have to find one of these pyramid type structures that are found out in the world. I do remember seeing one of them, but I don't remember which direction it's in. That could be one over there. I'm not sure if that's a dungeon or the thing we're after. Aha, this is what we're after, right here. So according to JEI here, we have to use the weather container and strike this with lightning with the environmental accumulator. And this Scepter of Thunder is a one-time single use, so I really don't want to mess this thing up. I think we just right click, or do we throw it on maybe? Okay, that didn't seem quite right. I think we have a certain amount of time to use our scepter. Let's try it again once this thing recharges. Alright, so we throw on the weather container, and then right click the Scepter of Thunder. Uh-oh. Did that work? It didn't work. Oh no! Oh no! Is it because we're in the snowy biome? Possibly. Oh, this means we're gonna have to craft another Scepter of Thunder. Alright, maybe we'll try to find another accumulator as well. Alright, we got another scepter here. Aha! After about an hour of searching for this thing, we have another environmental accumulator. Okay, we're gonna use the Scepter of Thunder first. And we got... Oh, we got Thunderstruck. Nice. Okay. I'm gonna grab a few of these things if we can. I don't see any thunder here though, but I mean, I'm not complaining at this. Okay, the second one only gave us the rain container, but that's okay. We only need one of these things for now. So now we need a nether star, and we should keep an eye on these things in our nether star generator. We only have 35 left. And we also need one of these life crystals, which I was warned about on Discord yesterday actually, so thank you very much for that. This is made from more crystallized shards that we make in the crystallizer. We need carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and sulfur to make the life crystal. And these all come from various different materials. Most of the stuff is easy to get, it just takes a long time in the crystallization process. So I just put in recipes for everything. But now we can put everything together and upgrade our activation crystal. So this now unlocks the will quest for us, which we need to pick up one of each will. And in that time, all of the will should have grown by now. Yeah, and in fact it's even generated more regular will for us. So we're going to harvest all of these. So we have 7 of each of the different types of will. Oh nice, it gives us a common Tartaric gem. So now we have to fill up all of the Tartaric gems to be able to craft the clusters. Hopefully for the last time like this. Now we can craft each of the different types of clusters. I think I might have said before that the common only holds 512, it's actually 1024, but to craft the clusters we need a minimum of 1200. Okay, so now that we have our 5 different versions of the crystal clusters, we can now actually start to replace some of these rituals here. So we no longer need the resonance of the faceted crystal. We can get rid of this crystallizer temporarily, and we'll break the first master ritual stone. And because these are interlinked, the second master ritual stone is down here. We want to keep this ritual, but because these are interlinked, I'm just going to vein mine these, I think. And then we'll replace the second one that we need. Actually, let's also turn off this chicken spawner while we don't have the second ritual set up. Alright, so we do want to put back the Gathering of Forsaken Souls, just back where it was before. And well, I guess we'll activate this at this point as well. And then instead of the Resonance of the Faceted Crystal, instead we want Crack of the Fractured Crystal. If we can find it, there's so many of these rituals here. There it is, Crack of the Fractured Crystal. And we're going to place this ritual just below this Master Ritual Stone. And we'll build this one out. We should probably remove this for now. Oh, and we're also out of ritual stones here. We do have a couple more already crafted. We may have to craft some more though. Yeah, it looks like we're still short here in the corners. Okay, so while we wait on the rest of the ritual stones crafting, there's a couple more things we have to set up here. This new ritual is basically going to harvest these crystal clusters as they grow, and they're going to grow from the excess will in the chunk. So what we now need to do is have somewhere for these things to be stored. In this case, I'm just using drawers, and we want to insert these into the demon crucibles. This is going to extract the will from the will crystals and grow the clusters on the floor. And then once the clusters have grown, those will pop off and then be inserted into the drawer, and this will repeat the cycle. Ultimately though, it will give us excess which we can use for the Tartaric Gems. So at this point we want to lock these drawers for each of the different will types. And then we're going to separate out these conduits. And we'll simply set the extract from the drawer into each of the crucibles. So yeah, this has put one of each of the will types inside the crucible. The rest of our ritual stones are finished here, so let's finish building out our ritual at the bottom. And then we will activate this one. And I guess we'll put back our powered spawner here. In fact, we're going to sink this into the floor one block. Alright, so at this point we're going to place down the clusters. It doesn't really matter where we place these, but I'm going to place them right in the center of this room here. So these, just make sure you don't break when you after you place them. I believe you don't get these things back unless you craft another one. I did make that mistake in interactions, so yeah. So yeah, as you can see, these things are growing and they will automatically pop off because of the second ritual we have set up. So yeah, hopefully you can see where this is going. These are actually growing really, really fast here. So now we just need a way to automatically harvest this and put them back in the drawer to complete the cycle. So to do that, I've added a vacuum chest just above the clusters, which go into the drawer controller here. And this we're just going to extract from here and insert into the drawer controller. So this should put all of the will back into the drawers and then into the crucibles, and this cycle should continue. But just to make sure we don't ever run out of will crystals, I'm going to take 4 of each, just in case we have to craft some more. And to speed this up, I'm curious if we can swap out the capacitor in this powered spawner here. So we only have the simple capacitor, putting in the octadic will spawn more chicken, and hopefully generate us some more will. I just hope that the ritual is quick enough at killing them, as I don't want this place filling up with hundreds and hundreds of chicken. It seems to be keeping up though. So yeah, we're going to save 4 of each, just in case we have to craft the clusters again, in case we have a little accident here. But I'm noticing that we're not getting any of the regular will, which is a bit of a problem. I think to solve that though, what we're going to do is turn off the extract of these things, just temporarily. And instead of putting the will inside, we'll put a Tartaric Gem that's full, which should hopefully grow each of the clusters and allow us to get the regular demon will. And once it builds up enough of each, it should be self-sustaining. Alright, so now that we have this, just to test this thing out, you can actually see up here in the little UI, the amount of will we have of each type in this chunk. And I intentionally built this right above where we have our Hellfire Forge, as now when we put our Tartaric Gem in here, it should always stay full with the excess will that thing generates. So if we put in an empty one here, we should see this fill up over time. This sort of a setup should be sufficient for multiple of these Hellfire Forges. In fact, the quest reward even gave us some. Yeah, we get 6 more here for free. So yeah, I'm quite happy with the way this turned out. It turned out a bit cleaner than the FTB interactions version. Alright, so this has been running another just 5 minutes or so, and we already have a buffer of about 15 of each, which should safely be enough to leave this and let this buffer even more for our Tartaric Gems. Both of these rituals running, as well as our Well of Suffering over here, do cost a little bit of LP from our network. So if we check our divination sigil here, we're at the full 1,000,000, which is the maximum amount that our Master Blood Orb can hold. So it looks like we are stable enough with the rituals running. But without the Blood Orb in there, we will deplete from LP in the network, so we do have to keep that in mind if we were to take this out of the Blood Altar. So now that we have automated LP and automated will, let's overhaul our blood magic crafting area here. Before we do that though, let's address our Darksteel issue. We are back up to 3000 Darksteel, but the production of this stuff is nowhere near where it needs to be, especially for the later chapters. I believe a lot of the stuff in Botania and also in Thaumcraft coming up is going to use a lot of Darksteel. So if we think about what goes into Darksteel, we need refined obsidian and glowstone ingots. Glowstone and osmium we should have plenty of. Let's just make sure this machine is upgraded. It isn't upgraded. Okay, so let's put the rest of the machine upgrades in this thing at least. Now this is also going to chew through the refined obsidian, which comes from a lot of diamonds and a lot of pulverized obsidian. And I think this comes from over here. Yeah, this is where we make our pulverized obsidian. However, our obsidian production I don't think is where it needs to be. Yeah, we're down to 52 obsidian and I think this has fallen. I've been monitoring this for the last few hours and we were up at hundreds of obsidian, and this is going nowhere, so we need to buffer obsidian production, which I think is over here. I believe it's this drawer, yeah. So we're making it with the igneous extruder, which does not have 100% uptime, so let's fix that. So to do that, we're going to use the lava fabricator from Industrial Foregoing instead. The only thing is this doesn't auto output. I don't know if this has an auto input feature. It doesn't look like it does. Okay, we have to get some conduit on the back of this thing. And if you guys know anything about this wall, look at this thing. How are we going to get conduit back there? Alright, we're going to make this work, don't worry. Is it one of these ones? I don't think so. Nope, not possible. There's just not enough space there. So instead we're going to place an ender tank. We can use the auto output feature, and this is connected to the lava fabricator we already have over here. And now let's make sure we upgrade this igneous extruder. Alright, this thing is maxed out. Now we're making obsidian. And we'll also switch out the capacitor here, making dark steel. We just have to keep an eye on the steel production and make sure that can keep up with this thing. Also energized dark. I think we should have enough of this thing. I think this setup is also maxed out. Yeah, we have 32 stacks of energized dark. And this just comes from tar and bitumen, which we have hundreds of thousands of. Yeah, 187k of bitumen, so we have plenty of this stuff. Alright, now I think we can tackle our blood magic setups here. So I think the first thing we're going to want to do here is passive the tier 2 essences. And also the reagents. Yeah, actually, let's start with the reagents first. So we have to make sure that these Hellfire Forges are within the same chunk. So I think we'll put our passive Hellfire Forges on this side, and we'll keep our alchemy tables over here. It doesn't actually matter where these things are, so I'm going to change the position of these drawers. But first I want to test if we can import from these Hellfire Forges from any side here. And it looks like we can. But there is the issue of this thing stacking again, so how do we deal with this? And it also looks like it put it in the output slot, which is not ideal either. Maybe that's just because it inserts from the bottom. Alright, I think I've found the solution for this. There is a few we could have gone for. We could have used integrated dynamics again. But I think for this particular setup, it's a lot easier just to use the inscriber name press. Oh, we have to filter this thing. Okay, so the way I've got this set up is we have an interface to supply our items for the air reagent we're making here. But because there's 2 glass bottles, these will stack the inputs. And once it reaches 64, we can no longer make use of the limited item filter, as that only allows for 64 items per filter of the same type. But by renaming this to a different version of the glass bottle, I probably should have renamed it something other than glass bottle. But you can see one is in italics and one isn't. That's because it's been run through the inscriber name press, which has this name press. You make this with a nether quartz knife, put a piece of iron in here, and you can name this whatever you want. And then when you filter the item into the inscriber, it's going to name it whatever you set on the name press. So then we use that item as the second glass bottle variant in the limited item filter here. And that way we can stop the inputs filling from more than one type of item. So now we just have to fill this with a Tartaric Gem, and this is going to craft our tier 1 reagents. Yeah, we're getting air reagents, which we're going to output to a drawer here. And we'll do the same for all of the tier 1s. I don't know if there's any more that stack like that, at least in the tier 1. The water one has 2 water buckets. So we may have to do the same thing here. But yeah, we will need a few more inscriber presses. I just wanted to make sure this setup would work. Oh, this may not be as simple as I first thought. I forgot about the buckets in here. Basically, we don't want this Hellfire Forge to accept any items unless there's 3 slots in these 2 spaces. And we also want it to always remove the empty buckets. So I have got the second bucket here named. But yeah, we need a way of dealing with these empty buckets. I think for that, integrated dynamics will come into play here. So I think in that case, since we're a bit stumped, we're going to leave this for next episode. I don't have as much time to play today, so yeah, I'm going to fix this between episodes for sure. Instead, what we're going to do is change our empower setups here. Well, not change, just add to them. So there's one more empowered material that we're not creating yet. And that is the empowered void crystal. We need this thing for the void reagent, which I think is a tier 3 reagent. I guess when we were setting these up, we did skip empowered void, as we didn't need it at the time. So I've just been batch crafting it in this one here. Alright, so we got empowered void crystals on passive now. Well, almost. So these do require flint, which we don't have on passive yet. But I think we're going to solve this with mystical agriculture. These are just tier 1 seeds, so we can very easily craft flint like this. Alternatively, we could use gunpowder with mana infusion. But for this, we also need dark bimetal gears. And I've currently turned these off as these are made with dark steel. But hopefully soon enough we can have both of these materials up. And when we do, we'll have empowered void. And I also raised the roof on this place to accommodate for the extra laser setup. And I think it works out a bit better even. Just need some more detailing work. I think tomorrow we can also move on to Omothal. Don't know if it's the last Abyssocraft dimension. And this will open up chapter 18 for us, which is the rest of Botania. This is where we can start to really flesh out our Botania area and get proper mana generation going. So yeah, with that, I think this is where we're going to wrap up here for today. I'm really happy we managed to automate this blood magic stuff. And I'll get the rest of this alchemy tables and Hellfire Forges figured out for tomorrow. So yeah, that's going to do us for today. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow for some more Divine Journey 2.